History shows women keep showing up for everyone, every day. But who's showing up for you? Grow Therapy helps you put your mental health first with therapy that's covered by insurance and built to support you. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Hi, who here loves when their nails are perfectly done? Me. I'm Sarah Gibson Tuttle, and I started Olive in June because, let's be real, we all deserve to have gorgeous nails, but who wants to spend a fortune or half their day at the salon? And that's why I created the Mani system, so you can have that salon-perfect manicure right at home. And guess what? The best part? Each mani only costs $2. Yep, you heard me, $2. No more $30, $40, $50 salon trips that eat up your day. Now you can paint your nails whenever you want, wherever you want. And trust me, you're going to be obsessed with your nails, and everyone is going to ask you, where did you get your nails done? And here's a little something extra. Head over to oliveinjune.com and get 20% off your first Mani system with code PERFECTMANI20 at oliveinjune.com/PERFECTMANI20. That's code PERFECTMANI20 for 20% off at oliveinjune.com/PERFECTMANI20. You're all set for a nail glow up. Let's get those nails looking fabulous, shall we?
Hello, and welcome back to the Psycholegal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And this week we are doing something a little different. We're experimenting. So we are covering Waco, American Apocalypse on Netflix. This is a 3-part Netflix documentary. So today in this episode, we are only going to be covering episode 1. Usually when we do these documentaries, we watch all the episodes together and do it as one long episode for the show. And we thought, well, let's take our time and really deep dive and see how this goes. So this is 3 parts. So we'll know by the end of the 3 parts how this is working out for us.
Well,
so hopefully it'll be interesting.
I think it takes it. I mean, there's clearly an hour's worth of material here just in the first episode. So yeah, this is one of those things where you don't want to have to rush through it, and there's just a lot here and a lot going on.
Yeah. So before we dive into everything, I'm going to read a brief synopsis of the first episode. So like I said, the first episode is called In the Beginning, ... So the first episode opens by recounting the initial violent confrontation between U.S. federal agents and the Branch Davidian religious sect at the Mount Carmel compound near Waco, Texas. In early 1993, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the ATF, obtained a warrant to search the compound and arrest its leader, David Koresh, on suspicion of possessing illegal firearms. Despite their plan to catch the group by surprise, the ATF loses the element of surprise when local news crews inadvertently alert the Branch Davidians, allowing them to arm themselves before the raid. What was intended as a quick enforcement action explodes into a 2-hour firefight, the heaviest on U.S. soil since the Civil War, in which 4 ATF agents are killed and several other agents and Branch Davidians are wounded. With the raid stalling, the FBI moves in, and a 51-day siege begins. Hostage negotiators take the lead in hopes of securing the release of children inside the compound, setting the stage for the prolonged standoff that dominates the rest of the series. So this first episode really, focuses on the first 2 days of this 51-day siege and how it all started. So that's what happens. Do you want to talk a little bit about David? Yeah,
let's get some background on who David Koresh is, because the Branch Davidians, who he was the leader of, it's always described as a cult. And they don't really talk about the cult-like nature of this a lot in this first episode. So I assume they're going to get into it in the other episodes. But, it's got the same kind of familiar themes with, a lot of women and children. He was a polygamist. He had multiple wives and multiple children. And there were a lot of, I think he kind of preyed on a lot of young mothers who, were looking for something. And just people in general who were looking for something, as all cults do. But, okay, so his early life is pretty disturbing. So his birth name is Vernon Wayne Howell. He was born in 1959, and he claimed to be the son of God. He claimed to be the prophet of the Branch Davidians religious sect. His apocalyptic biblical teachings included interpretations of the Book of Revelation and the Seven Seals. So in his early life, he was born to a 20-year-old father and 14-year-old mother.
Interesting.
2 years after he was born, the relationship broke down. The mother continued to flounder with an abusive first marriage that quickly ended in divorce. And then she was unable to cope with her situation. She moved to Dallas. She placed her son in the care of her mother and an older sister. Bonnie's mother, that's David's mother, Bonnie, would pretend to be Koresh's mother. And Bonnie would pose as an aunt when she occasionally visited him. Let's see. So finally, several years later, Bonnie felt she was in a stable enough place to raise her son herself. So the truth about who his real mother was revealed to him at 5 years old.
Oh, Lord.
An experience he carried with him his whole life. To make the situation worse, at this time, he began to be sexually abused by one of his mother's male relatives. And not long before he turned 6, a half-brother arrived. A few weeks later, the new family went to Texas, and the stepfather of Koresh did not get along well with him at all. He described his early childhood as lonely, and due to his poor study skills and dyslexia, partially caused by poor eyesight, he was put in special education classes and bullied by his schoolmates. Matters improved after about the age of 12 when he became interested in sports, which he was good at, and he developed his physique. Despite this turnaround, Koresh dropped out of high school his junior year. He tried various jobs, but was either fired from or abandoned them. At the age of 19, he had an illegal sexual relationship with a 16-year-old girl who became pregnant. He never saw the resulting daughter. The teenage mother thought him unfit to be a father, so she moved away and refused to see him. He then went through some experimenting with religion. He became a born-again Christian in the Southern Baptist Church. And then he joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And it was there that he was 20 years old, and he began a 2-year relationship with the pastor's daughter, who was 15 years old. And during this time, this is when he kind of decided that he was a Messiah.
Special.
He was special. And he went and told the pastor this. And the pastor said, "You're full of shit, and quit seeing my daughter. I don't want you to ever see her again." Which he ignored.
So finally, a pastor that does the right thing.
Right.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So they basically told him they expelled him from the church because they were repulsed by him and his sexual obsession. And, one thing that is also a theme throughout his life is he is young girls, you know. He just keeps getting older, but he's still attracted to the, 14, 15, 16 range there. So after he was expelled for that church, that's when he headed to Waco, Texas, and he joined the Branch Davidians, which was a splinter group of the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. And that was the beginning of his illustrious career as a cult leader.
So, and then the Seventh-day Adventists, they believe that the apocalypse is coming, right? Like that the apocalypse is coming. And from my understanding, the belief was that they had to, and this was what David Koresh believed too, that you had to arm yourself with weapons because there was going to be a war, and that you would die, and then come back to life as this chosen, as the spiritual,
the chosen
person. And
one.
Yeah. And I believe that the Seventh-day Adventists, they believe that was like the basis of their stuff. So it sounds like David Koresh just kind of took their idea and was like, okay, well, I'm going to branch off and do my own thing. I'm still with the same ideas.
Yeah. He named it after himself because he had changed his name to David. And so what was the origin of the David Koresh name? It was...
So David is... I have it here. Hold on. David is referring to King David or the Davidians, which is what I assume that he created it first and then became the Davidians. And then Koresh is derived from Cyrus Koresh in Hebrew. You said this word, a messianic figure. A messianic figure. So the name itself signaled his belief that he was chosen to fulfill the prophecy.
So
isn't that convenient?
Yeah. It's like, okay, then.
See, I first thought his name was really David, and then he was like, "Oh, these are the Davidians." And then I was like, "Okay, you named it after yourself." But this is even more like this is even worse. This is like, oh, great. I mean, it's like just. What name do I need to attach myself to call myself the Messiah? David? Okay, great. I'm David now. You know?
Yeah. And so, there was a lot of religious posturing that went on because he was still kind of at war with the pastor of the church that expelled him. And, I think, like I said, I think we might be getting into this in later episodes because the way this is structured, it sort of starts with the main event first. And I have a feeling that it's going to go back in time and, fill in the gaps of like, how did we get here?
Yeah, maybe. I also was wondering that too. And I was thinking, this is 51 days and this first part was only the first couple days. I'm wondering if this is just
I think it was the first day, wasn't it? Just the first day?
Yeah, I mean, the first day and a half or something. So big picture, when we watch these documentaries, of course, you always have to go back in time and be like, okay, where was I at this time? And what did I really know? And again, this was 1993. I was in college. I was 20 years old, very much about myself and what I was doing. So I remember this as this far off, like something was happening in Texas and it had to do with a cult and it was terrible. But, I like, okay, when you're in college, you're not watching the news or paying attention to anything. You kind of hear things, but this was pre-internet. This was pre all this stuff. So it was this thing you would kind of sort of hear
about. You had to go and watch if you wanted to watch the news, you actually had to be at home in front of a TV at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whenever and none of you to watch it.
And again, we're a bunch of college students. We're not at home watching the news at 5 or 6 o'clock. So you kind of hear about, I just remember you might see a headline on a newspaper when you're, buying something, that kind of thing. But I didn't realize 51 days, that's a long time for a standoff. That's over a month. That's like almost 2 months. And that it was the largest gunfight on American soil since the Civil War. And when you watch the documentary, what's really shocking is that first gunfight that they get into, the 2-hour gunfight. I mean, it's like, bam, 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 bam. I mean, you think you're in a war zone.
It's so many bullets.
It's so many bullets flying. And it felt a little bit like, you know, we're just shooting at each other. We're not even paying attention to anything. It was just a lot of like, you know, shoot, you shoot, I shoot, you know, it was just crazy.
It was chaos. And it's a wonder more people didn't get killed. And
yeah,
you know, talking about like looking back in perspective, same here, like the event itself didn't really register with me at the time. It was more in hindsight when it was all over and people started being very upset with the government. And because Janet Reno was the attorney general at the time, the first woman to ever serve as attorney general.
And also Clinton
Clinton was president.
Bill Clinton, and you know, this was the beginning of 93. So he had just taken office in January of 93. Clinton.
92. 93. Yeah, you're right.
93, because he was elected in 92. So that I thought was very interesting too. So we have a new president, first Democratic president in a while. So it's a big deal, you know, and then Janet Reno. Yes, I do remember. That was significant.
So there was a lot of criticism of the whole thing because at the time, even though Bill Clinton won handily, he was not popular with a lot of people, and the conservatives hated him. And this was Texas, you know, gun owning population. It's different than the coastal elites, you know, who helped get him elected. And there was a lot of criticism about the way, you know, the fact that Janet Reno even gave the order. Because like you said, it seemed like it was very chaotic and like they were tipped off. Someone accidentally tipped off the mailman who. Yeah,
this is a crazy story.
Who was part of the Branch Davidians, and he's out doing his mail route.
Yeah.
And I think it was a reporter.
It was a reporter who got lost. So he was like trying to find the other truck, and he sees a mailman come along. He's like, oh, I'll just ask this mailman, not really knowing like, oh, the mailman's part of this group. So he asks and tells them, and again, you know, this is a reporter and a camera person. So they're not thinking about security or how much should I share or not share with this person. So he basically is like, yeah, we're here because the ATF's going to raid the compound. And so that mailman, and we meet his daughter. She's in this, Heather Jones.
My point. Yeah. Let me finish my point though. So about the sentiment again, the anti-ATF or anti-Clinton sentiment was very, very high. And a lot of people blamed him, and a lot of people you know, are very upset about the death, obviously, of the federal agents. But anyway, some extremists took it too far. And two of those extremists were Timothy McVeigh and, who's the other one? His partner.
The other guy that got caught with Timothy.
The Oklahoma City bombing.
Yes. Terry Nichols. We also, and we covered that. Yeah.
So Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh and others who committed, you know, crimes against the federal government who are not so notorious. This was like their calling card. Like this was their thing that they were pissed about. And in fact, the Oklahoma City bombing was April 19th, which was 2 years to the day, April 19th of 1993, that the Waco siege began. So this had a ripple effect throughout, but probably still to this day, people are upset about this. And people are upset about anyone interfering with their, you know, gun rights and whatever. But I mean, this is off the charts. I mean, the amount of guns and ammunition. And quite frankly, that day, the ATF was completely outgunned.
Yes.
Because they also knew the basis for the search warrant was, you know, that they had somehow intercepted a package of grenades, like military grade grenades that were being shipped to the compound. And that's what started.
Yeah, I thought it was a delivery driver, that one of the grenades fell out of a box or something like that. And the delivery driver was not on that mail route. He was not part of the Branch Davidians. Right. And so I guess he reported it. And so they had to investigate. And I think that they really went in, the sense that I get is the ATF, they took it very seriously, but they kind of went in with this idea of we're in control. Like we're going to go in and we're just going to tell this, this is going to be easy. We're going to get these guns. We're going to arrest this guy. Here we go. Not really. It feels like they really did not think through. Like, he has been amassing all of these weapons. You don't think that they're going to try to use them. And they originally had the element of surprise, but because this reporter blew that, they, it seemed like they needed to back off and regroup and rethink this, but it sounds like they just pushed ahead. And so we do meet some of the ATF agents in this documentary, and some of them are quite critical of the fact that, we were still, I'm following I'm following orders. This is what I'm going to do, but I don't agree with this.
Yeah, because the amount, they said they had 1.6 million rounds of ammunition in this compound. It burned to the ground after. I'm not quite sure how they know this, but anyway, they had evidence. They had a search warrant. They had evidence that they were manufacturing illegal machine guns. They had a lot of illegal weapons. We see this thing that looks like some sort of hand grenade shooter kind of thing. They really had scary amount of ammunition in there, and guns and everything. Anyway, super scary. So
yes.
They think, and this comes in line with their thinking that, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world.
Yes.
This is it.
Yes.
This is the apocalypse. The ATF is here. They're shooting at us. So we've got to go balls to the wall. We've got to throw everything that we have at them. And that's what they did.
Yeah, because we meet this news person, Lee Hancock, and she really describes what it is that Koresh convinced his followers there's going to be a war, an apocalypse is going to unfold. There's going to be a government shootout, and then we're all going to die and go up in flames, and then we're going to return to the earth with David leading God's avenging army. Wow. So in some ways, it was like, oh, okay, it's all happening. But my question is this, and I don't feel like anyone gave us an answer. Who shot first? Because what I hear is the ATF agents, they say, well, we approached the door and there was gunfire immediately. And I'm like, so did they, are you saying that the minute you guys got to the door, that's it? They started shooting at you?
I think they started shooting before they even, they were waiting for them. They were probably sitting in the window, waiting for them to come. And as soon as they got close to because you see all those agents. So this compound, it's like a 77-acre compound. It's got this huge building that sort of looks like a castle or something. And so you see when the gunfire breaks out, the ATF agents are still probably a good 50 feet from the building. And they're literally hiding behind cars, being shot at and trying to return fire. And then at one point, there's sort of a break in the fire and the firefight, and a bunch of the agents get on these ladders and start climbing onto the roof. And then there's this assault of more gunfire on them as they're on the roof, and they're trying to crawl in the windows and get inside. First of all, these are some brave motherfuckers. I can't imagine. To just run towards gunfire like that. And then you're breaking into some place. You don't even know what's in there.
Yeah. Well, and you're already sitting there thinking, oh, this wasn't a smart idea. I didn't want, this wasn't what I signed up for. I thought we were going to, this wasn't the plan. So it sounds like because this was the part I wasn't quite sure of, because there was always this debate of who shot first and who started all of this. So it sounds like it was the Branch Davidians that they were trying to serve the warrant. And before they could even reach the door, knock on the door, they started opening fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the impression I got. I could be totally wrong. And maybe maybe we should clarify that next time.
But I'm just saying that I didn't feel like that. I kept going back and forth. I'm like, well, who started this? I am not saying that what the Branch Davidians did was okay, but I'm trying to understand, because there is a piece of this where, serving these warrants, I'm sure, is not easy, but they must have a procedure for it. And did the ATF follow that procedure, or did someone get trigger happy? Like, that's what I was wondering. Like, does someone get scared and then just started shooting, and then they started shooting?
Well, they did say that their plan, the ATF's plan of attack, was called dynamic entry. And so it's the element of surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what they were doing is, you could see them all rushing to the compound building. And I think what they do is they probably, they start banging on the door, and they start, they kind of semi-announce their,
mm-hmm.
we're here, and then they, break down the door. But like I said, before they could even get to the door, before they could even get close to the building, they're being shot at.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously they do this all the time. They have protocols and whatever, but usually they're not met by this type of fire, this type of firepower where they have 50 machine guns.
Oh, gosh.
Because that's what they in the warrant, it said that they suspected they had 40 to 50 machine guns, 100 hand grenades. They were making semi-automatic guns into automatic weapons. So, I mean, they were outgunned, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion.
Yeah.
But, some of these ATF people, this guy, Jim Kavanaugh,
mm-hmm.
he has been involved. He was actually, this guy's been involved in so many high profile. I immediately recognized him. He was involved with the Unabomber case, a lot of those church bombings, abortion clinic bombings.
Mm-hmm.
He's very experienced. And
Is he the one? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was the one that was talking about how he could feel the bullets flying by, by his ears, meaning it's,
I think that was a different guy. The Kavanaugh's the one with the white hair. And
okay.
The other guy, the one who got shot.
Yes.
Yeah. He, I think that's Bill Buford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We meet lots of different people.
He almost died. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was an ATF special agent, just like Jim Kavanaugh. They were the first people.
And
first people up there on the roof.
And then we also hear from some of the people that were inside. We hear from, as I mentioned, Heather, whose father is the mailman. Heather was 9 years old at the time. And, it's obviously incredibly scary. She's seeing people get shot. She's hearing the people dying all around her. She's 9 years old and she's taking this all in. We also meet this Kathy Schroeder, who I'm still a little unsure about. She was a former member, and she's the one that had 2 kids, and she said she was searching for God, and then she packed up all of her belongings to follow him.
Mm-hmm.
Heather Jones, David is her uncle. There's someone else there, another guy named David, who met Koresh at a guitar center in 1991.
Yeah.
And then, but what's interesting is this guy, this David
Thibodeau,
he, it was because he spent the whole time I can understand, I would be hiding too, down in the basement, waiting for it all to go away. And I was like, but then but if you're part of this group, don't you believe that this is part of the fight, that you have to fight, that you have, that this is part of God's plan and what's supposed to happen? I was a little confused by that, because it was so did you kind of know this was bullshit? Why are you hiding?
Well,
I guess is my question.
When the rubber hits the road, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm ready to, for the apocalypse quite yet.
I thought the apocalypse was going to be next year.
Or 10 years or 20 years or never.
Well, yeah, with so many of these groups, right? That he's probably like, listen, the apocalypse never comes. So we can just amass these guns and, it'll never happen.
Just have a good time.
Yeah.
Psych Legal Pop will be right back after these messages.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
History shows women keep showing up for everyone, every day. But who's showing up for you? Grow Therapy helps you put your mental health first with therapy that's covered by insurance and built to support you. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
This was interesting though. There was this guy, Larry Lynch, who was part of the sheriff's office. And I guess he was the one that sort of started talking to Koresh because basically, they were like, we need to have some kind of ceasefire, where there was this gunfight and they're trying to figure out how to get a hold of him and talk to him. And I guess Koresh was injured himself. Yeah. He was injured. He was shot. And I think this all started because there was a wounded agent that was trapped inside sort of the compound and he was dying. And they were like, and I guess he was one of their leaders. And so they were like, we have to get in and save him and get him out. So that's why they were trying to get Koresh to work with them. And so this is then, I think they're able to get in, rescue this guy, and then they start to retreat. They leave the compound. There's all of these ambulances and camera crews, and like the camera crews are having to take bodies and back because they ran out of ambulances because there's so many people hurt. And then there's this, in the documentary, I thought this was very odd. Then there's this musical interlude where it's this very patriotic song played behind scenes from it. And I was like, what are you trying to...
I kind of liked that part.
Oh, really? Because I was like, what are you trying to get me to believe?
Well, because the song is about, it's like you're serving your country and you did what you were asked to do and maybe you knew it was wrong and now I'm just a stranger to you. I don't know. I think it was trying to, pay homage to the bravery of these men who just followed orders. But, going back to, I just was looking at my notes. So, going back to, how this started. So after the mailman was tipped off, he comes back to the compound. And the ATF actually had an undercover agent in there.
Yes.
Named Robert Rodriguez. And so he found out that, the ATF, that they'd been tipped off and the ATF is coming. And so the ATF, that means they knew that, but it was almost like they were already there. They were already starting, like they had to execute. So they begin the raid, and they said that Koresh came out of the compound for an instant and then went back in. And then that's when all the shooting started. And the ATF claims that they did not shoot first, that it was the people in the compound. But I don't know. But yeah, they had this, they called it a Barrett rifle. That was that big old huge thing that they started shooting. I mean, it penetrates armor. It's so
oh my God,
strong. Yeah. It looks like a cannon, but like it's steel and like super deadly. And that's what they were shooting at the agents with. And the agents were outnumbered and outgunned. And they kind of didn't have a chance.
Yeah. And, this is definitely a theme of this, which is sort of this escalation of conflict, right? And loss of control of how even a, routine law enforcement action can quickly escalate.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call this routine.
No, I mean, but yes, but it could quickly escalate, and that, that it really did. What hit me with this was just listening to these ATF agents and seeing them going, God, yeah, you really do. You kind of never know. You just never know. I mean, and I understand that's police officers, everyone, firefighters, like you knock on someone's door and you just don't know what you're ever going to get. And you can, have all the practice and know exactly what you need to do. But things can easily go awry. But I definitely think that you can tell me I'm wrong. I definitely think the ATF walked in a little cocky. Like, I really think that they underestimated how much this group had, how many guns and how many weapons they had, combined with how much maybe they were practicing, Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the intelligence was like. I mean, they had that guy on the inside. Obviously, they had enough to get this search warrant. Maybe they underestimated. Yeah, they underestimated that. And here's where the religion comes in. They're probably used to situations where, okay, the ATF shows up, people kind of go, oh, fuck, and shit their pants. And are they're not prepared to fight back. They're not in that mentality to fight back. Okay, here's a religious group who kind of welcomes this. This is the apocalypse. I mean, if we die, we die. We're going to go to heaven, and then we're going to come back and be, whatever.
This is part of our plan.
Right. So if you truly believe that, then you don't have any fear, and it's not a normal situation. And, that's why I think it went on for so long. And then because they were, they had hostage negotiations with him for the 51 days. And, we'll get to this more later, but he was stalling. He was saying, I'll come out. I just, I need to, write some things down. I need to finish my work here on earth, and I need to write these things. And they kept giving him more time, and he's stalling. And then, and that's when finally, again, it's another who shot first, but eventually the place got set on fire, and the Branch Davidians claim it was this is at the very end, but they claim that, it was the ATF who did it, and vice versa. They're blaming each other for it, but that's the only way it ended. The place caught on fire, and everybody, died. So it's just the mentality of it. It's like, what? I don't know. What are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah. Well, so on the 28th, which was this day, then, and again, this is a very different time, right? How do you get information? Well, all these news reporters that were there, they go back to their people, they write the story, and then suddenly it's Connie Chung. And here she is on the evening news. And this was broadcast everywhere. And I guess apparently Koresh really enjoyed that. I mean, that was my understanding, that Koresh really I'm on the news now. And that was the other thing I wonder, if they could have settled that day before the news, because I think that Koresh at first, the siege is over. Okay, I'm wounded. And then it's wait a second, I'm now famous. Okay. I wonder if this had never landed on the news desk, would this have been different? Because he really took advantage of that. And that was the whole thing. The ATF really wanted to get all these kids, because they kept saying there's women and children in here. They wanted to get the kids out. And so David was willing to let them bring out the kids 2 by 2, just like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2. He'd release 2 kids at a time. each time his message would be played, I guess on radio. So like they would have to play the message, 2 kids would come out. They'd have to play the message again, 2 kids would come out. Is that my?
Well, I don't know if it was, I think it was on all media. Yeah, he wanted the world to know that he was God, and he wanted to get his message out there. And so I think, he would record these messages, and then, if they would play it, he'd let 2 kids go. They play another message, let 2 kids go. So I think it was like across all media,
But what I wasn't understanding is like how he's been hurt and he's inside the compound, but he must not have been so hurt that he couldn't write. He then later does a 58-minute sermon. So that was something else that I was like, where was he injured?
Well, I remember reading something about, and we'll find out later in the documentary, I'm sure, but, because he burned in the final, fire, when they did the autopsy, it was kind of hard to tell if he, like what his injuries were, and if he died from, what did he actually die from? Was it the fire? Was it the injuries? Not really sure, but we'll learn soon enough, I'm sure.
Yes. So, but I guess the minute those ATF agents died, they have to bring in the FBI because the FBI needs to come in and they need to investigate, I guess, all deaths of federal agents. And so that brings in, before it was just ATF, and now we've got the FBI. And they've got these snipers and rescue teams and, that we're trying to get them out, working on trying to get the kids out.
Well, one thing, going back to the kids, so like Koresh had taught his followers that law enforcement was the devil. So these parents were having to send their children, these kids who were being released, you're sending your children to the devil. So Koresh started getting pushback from the parents.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I don't know if that actually stopped him, but...
No, because he needed to get his message out. Yeah. But I mean, we hear from that one mom about, wait a second, I'm going to just let my kids go. And that was also interesting too, because if you're a true believer, wouldn't you think like, okay, no, we're not going to go. This is part of our plan. So why? I mean, he must have had a lot of power over them. Or maybe they felt like they didn't have a choice. I don't know.
Clearly, yeah. I mean, they're in a cult. So they just do what he says. But I guess a few people pushed back. But like he was, and he did that 58-minute sermon to be broadcast on Christian radio. That was one of his demands.
Yes.
And at one point he said he was coming outside, but then he got a sign from God to wait.
Yes.
So he was just playing with these people. He's playing with the feds, and they're getting more and more upset with him. And so I don't know what day this ended on.
Well, this whole thing, this is just March 1st. This is the next day where he has the 58-minute sermon.
Oh, really? This all happened in...
Yeah, I'm talking, this first episode was 2 days. It was the 28th and it was the 1st.
Well, if it happened on the 19th...
Are you talking about the 2-year anniversary? Are you talking about
I guess April 19th is the day
it ended.
Fire or the day of the attack?
It was the day of the fire. It was the end of the 51 days.
The end of it. Okay.
But hold on, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because one of the things was that, back to this idea of the parents letting their kids leave, and, this idea of like, why are they not coming out? Right? Why are they staying put? It may mean sure death. And so that's this whole thing with these cults, is that it is, to walk outside, if you're a Davidian and you really believe all these things, Koresh included, to come outside means you're giving up everything that you believe in. You're having to say that everything that I believed in, everything that I've devoted my life to, all of those things are, I'm going to have to give those up. And I think that, one piece of it is we see these leaders now as villains, but they don't ever start out that way. You know, they are very, very good at tapping into and giving people these things that you're so desperately wanting, especially when you're young, which is like meaning and certainty. That's a big one. Certainty. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen versus I don't know what's going to happen. And then belonging and part of that. And then, you know, that they become like the leader is the message. And so if you step outside of that, then right, you everything that you believe in isn't real.
Right. So that's the reason why when the shit goes down, people don't just go, oh, you know, I surrender, or I'm going to, you know, make a run for it, get out of here.
Or you lose your community or, you know, group. And, you know, obviously they told people the outside world was scary. Mm-hmm. And so that's also scary. So it's, I like this description. It's like an ego death, you know, having to go out there and admit these things. It's an ego death. So it's having to break all of that away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so where are we at now? Oh yeah, that's right. Because there was apparently David said he was going to leave. And so then all of his followers got in line and wanted to say goodbye to him. And he kept pushing them off like, oh, I have a long line of people I'm going to say goodbye to. And then that's when he started praying and said, okay, God says I have to wait. I think probably he was like, oh, good. Everyone's really loving me right now and paying attention to me. I don't want this to end.
Oh yeah, no, he was
I've got more sermons.
Getting off on this attention. And yeah, I mean, he's got the FBI.
Yeah.
Playing with them. He's got everybody wrapped around his finger. And
you're a huge story. You're a huge national news story.
It's on the news every day.
Oh yeah. Everyone's commenting on it. Everyone's talking about it. And
there's news conferences going on with the government. And this was a huge story and he was loving it.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's like, I think for most of us, I had never heard of Waco, Texas before this time. Like, I think a lot of people, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of people outside of Texas and that area, like, we had never heard of Waco. It kind of put Waco, on the map. And it unfortunately associated Waco with crazy. And I feel for the town because that wasn't their intent. You know, it's not their fault, but that's very much. So I remember meeting someone and I was like, oh, where are you from? Waco. And she said, Waco, Texas. I'm like, oh, you know, you automatically like, oh.
Well, you know, this compound was actually 77, 77 acres. I thought it said 77 miles. Yeah, I don't know.
But I think it was out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't like in Waco proper.
Yes, yes.
It was out there, but yeah, no, it's true. It did put Waco on the map, not in a good way. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the end. I mean, we kind of.
Yeah, it kind of ends with them realizing like, oh crap, we've been had. And then there was something else where Koresh really bonded with with one of the hostage negotiators. And then that negotiator was like, you know, had someone else come in, was going to take over for him because he needed to go he needed to sleep. He hadn't slept in like 2 days. And apparently that was a big mistake because Koresh was like, well, I'm not going to talk to you. I have this relationship over here with Larry Lynch. And I think that's what the guy's name was. I have this other relationship going on. And, Jim. Jim
Kavanaugh.
Yeah. So Jim was the one that was negotiating. He's the one that was like, I need to take a break. Mm-hmm. You know, they were able to get out 20 different people in the first few days, you know, in those days. So it felt like, okay, we're making some progress. And then Koresh was pissed. Like that this guy, Gary, FBI negotiator, took over.
Yeah.
That I thought, I wish they would spend more time on that. Like why, you know, but now hearing a bit more about Koresh's childhood, I'm like, okay, was he using that as an excuse of like, this is another reason I can stall? Or was it really this wound of, I thought I was bonding with this person? Like I thought this person cared about me or had my back, and now they just disappeared.
And
I'm really upset. I don't know. That's the thing. It's hard to know what is real and what's not real. Are these real feelings? Like, were you really upset, or did you just use this as an excuse?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. But yeah, I'm shocked that this went on for so long. I just remember at the time, God, there was so much flack over this about, towards the Clinton administration and their mishandling of it. And yeah, because I mean, Bill Clinton, he campaigned on, like that this was not in his, I don't think he ever thought he was going to have to deal with something like this. So early in his administration, if at all, this was just not what the vibe in the country was about at the time.
Yeah.
So it really kind of threw a wrench in everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, very tragic. But so next week we'll find out more.
All right. Yeah. We'll find out what
next.
This is in the beginning. So next week we'll find out what's in the middle, what happened in between with all of this. So yeah, it's so fascinating. We've talked about this before when you look back, 30 plus years later at these events and being able to see them through a different lens. And I can see how this looked really bad and really, really messy for the government because they did not come out. I mean, again, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that I could see why people were pissed. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying that I agree with them. I'm just saying that I can imagine if you are someone who, I think one thing with the documentaries, they really focused a lot on like women and children. They're shooting in here and there's women and children, And it feels like they really kind of weaponized that when in actuality, David Koresh didn't really care about the women and children. Do you know what I mean? And so that's the other part of it too, is I could see how people could believe this false belief that the ATF's bad, that they came in and guns a-blazing.
He was having sex with children.
I know. I am not making excuses for it. I'm just like,
I'm saying that but this really spawned a whole movement, like the Timothy McVeighs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know it existed before, but it was the beginning of it really amplifying. And even to this day, like hating the government, hating the federal government, it took it to a new level.
Yes, that's a good way of saying it.
People have always been critical of the government, and there's always been people like that. But I feel like this really spawned a lot of extremists, and it really, because, this is the era of, all these bombings and bombing abortion clinics and, the Christian, right-wing extremism. So.
And I can imagine, right, if you're, and he became so popular, it was so big, he became a news story. So if you're an extremist that feels like this is my mission in life is to die or die this way or to do these things, then all of the media attention didn't help.
No, it just amplified it.
Yes, amplified it.
Made more people go, I mean, he's just like a martyr.
Yes. Exactly. All right. Well, we'll find out more next week. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know at the end of this third episode how you feel about these episode by episode coverage. I don't know what the word is. If you want more information or more about us, if you enjoy us, you can check out our Patreon where you can get all these shows ad-free along with the weekly bonus, along with, for our higher tier, you get a few other things and Ask Us Anything and a true crime special for Patreon. There's other ways to support us. You can write us a 5-star rating and review. Those really do help us and get the word out. You can spread the word of Cyclegal Pop. You can follow us on social media at Cyclegal Pop. We're on TikTok and Instagram. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here, for listening and supporting us. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hi, I'm Pace Case.
And I'm Bachelor Clues.
We host Game of Roses, the world's best reality TV podcast. We're covering every show in reality TV at the highest level possible. We analyze The Bachelor, Love is Blind, Perfect Match, Vanderpump, and anything else you find yourself watching with wine and popcorn.
We break down errors, highlight plays, MVPs, and all the competitive elements that make reality TV a sport. And we interview superstar players like Bachelorette Caitlin Bristow and Big Brother champion Taylor Hale.
If you want to know so much about reality TV, you can turn any casual conversation into a PhD-level dissertation. You definitely want to check out Game of Roses.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.